There are many theories surrounding Pokemon in both the anime and the video games. They range from the idea that the whole anime takes place in Ash's head while suffering from a coma, to Blue's Raticate dying after battling with him on the SS Anne. In this video I'll take a look at the more interesting ones, including the previous two, and give my opinions on them. Keep in mind though, these are just theories surrounding a TV show and a video game series aimed at kids. A lot of these theories, and my responses, are likely way overanalyzing what's actually going on, so let's have a look. Theory 1. In Pokemon Red and Blue, you fight your rival aboard the SS Anne. You later find him in Lavender Town, a town known as being the resting place for Pokemon after they die. Your rival points out that none of your Pokemon are dead, but that he can at least make them faint. This battle and every battle after this one, he doesn't have his Raticate that he had aboard the SS Anne. His Raticate very likely died after the battle on the SS Anne as he was unable to make it to a Pokemon Center on time. Continuing through the game, you stomp your rival every time you battle him, or at least you do after a few Pokemon Center visits. You face him a final time at the Pokemon League, where you rip him of his title that he had just recently earned. His grandpa then comes in and scolds him but rewards you. So in the end, you not only crush your rival's spirit through the death of one of his Pokemon caused by you, the player, but also manage to turn his grandfather against him as well. Good job. Don't you just feel like a great person right now? I think this is one of the oldest theories out there about the first Pokemon games and can see how someone might believe it. But at the same time, maybe your rival just wanted better Pokemon. Your rival in the first two generations is shown as a guy who is willing to sacrifice the love of his Pokemon if he can grow stronger. Or perhaps he just released the Raticate, or even traded it. Youngster Joey is known for being obsessed with having a Rattata in the top percentage. Why not go for a Raticate instead? Higher base stats? Angrier looking? Looks like a good deal to me. Your rival got a Gyarados and an Execute, and Joey got his top percentage Raticate. Theory 2. The Coma theory is a long one, and so I'll summarize a couple points and leave a link to go check out the rest. This one is plausible enough to be true, although there are some holes in it. After Ash is struck by the Thunderbolt Pikachu used on the flock of Spearow in Episode 1, Ash suffered great damage to his brain which put him into a coma. After this event, Ash's subconscious created a world where he can live, grow, and not be subjected to death or any related concepts. From this stems the creation of everything he has loved, and everyone he has traveled with. Misty, being the only traveling companion that Ash saw prior to the Thunderbolt, was only interacted with for a short time in the real world. In that time she rescued him, slapped him, yelled at him, and then he took her bike. Unfortunately, these moments were the only things Ash's mind could use when recreating her in his new world, which is why she's always aggressive. Brock was simply a caregiver. His ease of creating healthy food and performing excellent survival skills is Ash's subconscious creating a person to take care of him and show him how to take care of himself in times of need. Being 10 years old, he had limited to no knowledge of surviving in the wilderness, so Brock was created. This theory goes on to explain the roles of Tracy, May, Dawn, and even more characters and their importance to Pokemon. There's another story that also expands on these ideas, which I'll link to down in the description below. You should read through both as they are equally interesting to each other, and may reshape how you look at Pokemon from now on. My opinion on the theory is that it's a bit too deep for an anime targeted at children, and is exactly what I was talking about when I mentioned overanalyzing. However, it is the most well-developed theory surrounding Pokemon that I have read thus far. I think this shows how creative fans can be when they sit down and really put their minds to it. I would like to see a version of this applied to the handheld video game series. For example, is Youngster Joey supposed to show Red's secret desire for power? Or is Youngster Joey just there to represent how bad Red wants a Rattata and the top percentage of Rattata? What about Lickitung? Is Lickitung Red's suppressed wish that he too had a 10-foot long tongue? Who knows? This theory is fantastic and I hope to see more like it. Theory 3. The next theory is that the world of Pokemon was actually ravaged by a generation-killing war. There are so little middle-aged men. This was much more noticeable in the earlier games than it was in the later games. Why are there so many kids running around and so many seniors but no middle-aged? Lieutenant Surge mentions being a survivor of some sort of brutal war that almost took his life. Other trainers in this gym were also once soldiers in an army, who also likely fought in that same war. Surge mentions being saved by Pokemon, which means that Pokemon were probably also used as weapons. Imagine hundreds of soldiers running in terror as the beaches are stormed by Charizards. Some say this war caused the lack of adult men, claiming that they'd been killed in the war, and so comes the name the Generation-Killing War. The old are still around because they were simply too old to be effective, and the young are still around because they were too young to be effective. This theory is another great one, and another sad one. Can we not just get a happy theory for once? I mean, come on. Joking aside, this is another solid theory. However, I'd say the reason that there are so few middle-aged men in the earlier games is simply due to limitations with the game engine. Due to the way that the games were made and the limitations in technology when they were being made, there's only so much data that can be held. As a game targeted towards a younger audience, it makes sense to have more young trainers than older trainers. Kids are going to want to battle with other kids their age, not some old grown-up or something. But the idea of Charizards in the middle of a battlefield pushing forward into the enemy's army is pretty cool. Sounds to me like Adult Swim or somebody along those lines needs to get the rights to make a Pokemon series targeted towards adults that hopefully is a bit less tacky than the series we have right now. But then again, that's just wishful thinking. Theory 4. The fourth theory is focused on Ditto. This theory states that Ditto may actually be failed clones of Mew. There are quite a few reasons behind this. The first and most obvious one is that Mew and Ditto are both pink. Their shiny forms are also both blue. This doesn't prove much, but moving on, they both know Transform and can technically both learn any move. Ditto's appearance is also an indicator, because it seems that it's man-made. There are more than one though, so it's possible that it may reproduce asexually, or that there were so many failed attempts that now they can just be found in all kinds of places. Mewtwo's biography also mentions that Mewtwo was said to be the only successful copy of Mew. What of the other clones? What happened to them? Ditto can also be found in the Pokemon Mansion on Cinnabar Island, which is where it is believed that Mewtwo was created due to the logs left back by the scientists scattered around the area. Both Mew and Ditto have the same base stats in their categories in the games. While Mew has 100 in each base stat, Ditto has 48. It's possible that the failed cloning process resulted in weaker stats. This is a theory I can really get behind, because it seems to have some great evidence to support it. Something that I left out was that they both also weigh the same. If that isn't an indicator that something is going on, then I don't know what is. It's funny to think about though. The scientists spent all of their time trying to clone Mew, and when they are finally somewhat successful with Mewtwo, he ended up pulling a page out of the Dragon Ball Z handbook, and killing his creator just like Android 17 did. If only they had youngster Joey there with his Rattata, who, may I remind you, is in the top percentage of Rattata. Anyway, thanks for checking out this video. If you liked it, be sure to subscribe or hit that like button, or subscribe and hit the like button, maybe even favorite. Keeps me motivated to make more videos. If you didn't like it, let me know why in the comment section below, and I'll do my best to make future videos even better. See you next time.